Good morning, everyone. It's another Saturday, so it's about time to talk about another topic on financial independence. And today's topic is a combination of two topics. One is the very widely spoken topic about should we buy a house or rent a house, and also if you're buying a house and you're financing it through loans, what should be your strategy when you are going to finance through a loan. So let's go to the second point because we'll start there and we'll come to the first one. So if you look at it, when you're financing like any middle class, like say salaried family, and the last few months, I have been having a lot of conversations with couples on financial independence when they reach out to me. One topic that has started to, it's a pattern that I'm seeing, especially in metros. I see a lot of this happening, is when they say that around 60% of my monthly take home is going into my EMIs for the house that I've purchased, and that leaves us with almost no savings, and it is becoming very tough for us to sustain our lifestyle with the remaining 40%. And this is a very practical problem, especially for people in the metros, because the cost of buying the prices of to get a house in a good locality in a gated community are really really high, and it's inevitable that the couples are stretching and they are trying to get that house, a dream house, which is actually at a significant premium. Now, again, I would house is a very I've always told this that house is a very personal thing. It's like the place where we all want to build memories, build our social circle, etc. So it's inevitable that some of us will stretch and try to get to that aspirational level that we have dreamt of. But if I have to talk from a financial prudence perspective, there is a strategy, and I'll tell you why it will work and why it might help you in the long run. Now, the bank usually has two dials to validate these numbers, right? One, if you are example, if your take home is let's say 1 lakh per month, let's take it for simple math, 1 lakh per month. The bank, what it will do is it will have two important aspects to look at your finance, your credit risk, and how much, like say, how much of risk exposure you have as a person, right? So what it will do is number one, it will not finance. No banks will finance 100% of your house. So their expectation would be that you should at least bring, in some cases, it's as low as 10 to 15%, but reputed banks usually ask you around 20%. So you should at least bring 20% of the value of the house, so that they know that okay, you have the ability to bring 20% and the remaining 80% can be financed. So if you're buying a house for, let's say, again for ease of math, let's say you're buying something for around 1 crore. So the expectation would be that you bring 20 lakhs and the bank is ready to think about the 80 lakhs. Now, it doesn't mean that the bank is always going to give you that 80 lakhs, right? Because the second factor kicks in. The bank then checks what is your year monthly payout, what is your EMI, like say honoring capability. When I say EMI, monthly EMI capability. So if your salary is 1 lakh, there is no way the bank is going to say that okay, I'll finance let's say 80 lakhs and going to have a EMI of around, if I'm correct, for 80 lakhs the EMI for 20 years or 25 years might come to around 75,000. And if that is the case, the bank is not going to put yourself themselves at risk by saying someone whose earning potential is 1 lakh is not can live by giving away 80,000 roughly in EMI and live life as a family with the 20,000. It's not going to happen, and you're bound to default. And that is where the second important parameter comes in. The bank usually tries to land you in a EMI bucket, which is around 50% of your monthly take home, sort of. So that's why they take your pay slips and all your yearly earnings, etc., because they want to deduce what is that sweet spot where you should not, I mean, or a percentage beyond which they should not finance your loan because the EMIs become very high. Now, ideally, many banks cap it at 50, 55%. Again, not a golden rule. That's what I've seen as a pattern. But I would encourage you not even going up until that 55, 60%, 50 to 60% range, because the moment you are crossing, the magic number is around 40%. The moment you are crossing 40%, you are exposing yourself to a significant risk when it comes to your lifestyle. Now, so what does it mean? Let's first do the math and then we'll go into the consequences. So if you are earning 1 lakh, you ideally should not be having a EMI which is beyond 40,000 per month, because that gives you that remaining 60,000 to live your life, make some savings, and then invest the savings in some higher assets, higher return assets, so that your wealth is also growing. Now, this is where I've seen a pattern, right? I've seen people, especially young couples who are in metro cities, they have stretched that 40% up until 60%, and that 20% is actually what is really hitting them pretty hard, because now what's happening is their quality of life is at risk, because imagine your salary comes on first, and by let's say second or third, if 60% of that money is gone and you are just left with that 40%, it becomes very, very tough for you. That's why I would say, when you are doing your math of getting your own house through a loan, please check if it is crossing that 40%. And if it is crossing, at least sit and deliberate. Like, is there something that we can do about it? Like, okay, if we stretch from 40 to 50%, where is the 10% going to come from? In many cases, I've seen couples have side incomes, additional income, like a income source from say their family, or a rental income from say a commercial property. Yes, in those scenarios you can stretch from that 40% to 50%. But if you are purely living on your salary and you want to stretch that, then you have to understand that it's going to come at a risk. Now, what are the benefits? Why the 60%, 40% as a cap really helps? There are two significant benefits. Now, you remember the savings that we spoke about? Yes, that savings really starts helping you, because when you start growing your wealth at a faster pace, you always have an option to take that money back and start pre-closure of your loans. Now, you'll be really, really surprised that if someone is for a practical example perspective, right? Like if someone took a loan for around 45 lakhs or 50 lakhs, even a pre-closure of additional 50,000 per year. I'm not talking per month. 50,000 per year. If you give like return the principal, even 50,000 per year, you will reduce your 20-year tenure to around 3 years. So it will close at around 17th year or something. Increase that to 1 year per month, 1 year per year, 1 lakh per year. So what happens is it actually comes down by around 4 5 years actually. And if you end up giving 2 lakhs additional principal every year, the 20-year tenure comes down immediately to 10 years. It's like cutting down your tenure of the loan from, let's say, 20 years to 10 years. So how significant is that, just by paying 2 lakhs additional per year? So that's like what, roughly around 15,000 to 18,000 you have to save every month. And or you multiply it in a higher value asset, and every year, if you can take away that 2 lakh and pre-close it, you literally are going to reduce your 20-year tenure to 10 years. And that, I don't think many people are really looking at it holistically. In my own practical example, if I have to look at it, I took a loan at around in around in 2013 sort of, and we were able to pre-close it by in around 7 years, 6 to 7 years, because our loan was around for 15 years. So we did the same idea. We kept investing the savings. We didn't overshoot ourselves by buying a very, very fancy house. And what happens is that additional savings that you got, you can keep flowing it into your principal, and we were able to reduce the same tenure by around 50%. So that is the big magic, like say, metric that no one talks about. how even insignificant, it might look so insignificant, right? 50,000 per year is practically saving around 4,000 per month. And that, if you start giving back, you save around 3 to 4 years of your overall EMI cycle you have to endure in the long 20-year journey. So try it out. I think this is very, very crucial. 40% metric is a very mantra, is a very, very crucial thing. If you have already taken loan, go back, check what is your percentage of EMI that goes. And if you are below the 35%, 40 is ideal. But if you are really below 35%, great. I don't think you will run any risk of it. But if you're crossing that 45, 40 percentage and you're in the 50s and 60s, you really need to figure out how you're going to create alternate sources of income. And the last point, 2 minutes, I think there's a lot of debate about should we buy the house or invest that money in stock market because that the growth is really high. I think there are two ways to look at it. I always tell this in most of my fire conversations. When it comes to the Maslow's, the base, right? It is not, it is like securing your basic requirements, and house is a basic requirement, and it is very personal and it is very subjective. So giving a perspective here is very, very I don't think we should look at it just purely from a mathematical perspective. Each person has to really, really validate what their requirements are when it comes to the basics. And I would highly recommend, I mean, if you look at my own philosophy, house is not just about it's not an investment. It's not, don't, like, the house that you're going to live is not a investment vehicle. It's about securing your basics, right? And that's why you need to find what is the right level or right house, and at what band you really need to fit in to secure your basic needs. So do not overshoot yourself by stretching beyond your limits and trying to settle in a house which is going to stress yourself. Or do not put yourself under immense pressure by telling every 2 months, every whenever the owner wants has a point of view, or wants the increases the rent, or you have to keep moving over a period of 20 years. Both extremes are not great, right? You should be doing a very, very pragmatic analysis based on the 40% rule to figure out, this is my budget, this is what I can afford, this is where I can settle down. And that prudence is what will help you build that uh, the basics that you need, which house is a very, very important aspect in that. Securing your family, settling down in a very, very having that social circle around your house. And end of the day, we all are living for memories, right? So everyone's house has a lot of memories. So it's very, very personal thing. But the conversation about house as a financial vehicle becomes slightly irrelevant. You are talking about the house that you're going to live. Yes, the subsequent houses and other real estate investments where you don't live, you can look at it as investment vehicles. But ideally speaking, please do not look at the house that you and your family are going to live purely from an investment perspective. So that's all I would say for today. I think the debate will continue. The math will always favor moving towards riskier assets versus investing in a real estate or a house that you're going to live. But be take your own control is what I keep telling, right? Financial independence is not about following someone else's journey. It's your own journey. Design it. We'll always have tools to guide us, but end of the day, get your hands dirty, figure out what works best for you, and follow the rules. And I'm sure you will be on your way to financial independence. Have a good day and talk to you soon.